Director Bornila Chatterjee and the producer Tanaji Dasgupta. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. Wow, thank you guys for coming. Hey! Tana and I are really excited to be able to share our film with you guys tonight. So I don't really want to keep you. Just want to say thank you so much for coming, and there's going to be a Q&A afterwards, so please do stick around. It's generally fun. Absolutely. Thanks so much, everybody. Everybody, please help me welcome back the filmmaker Bornila Chatterjee and the co-writer and producer Tanaji Dasgupta. So I'm going to start with a few of my own questions, and we'll open up to the audience because I know you guys have a lot of things to say and ask about. I thought the first thing I'd ask about is your co-writer, William Shakespeare. And so what gave you the idea to choose this work, Titus Andronicus, and apply it to India in this time period now?
Yeah, so I've always been very, very fascinated by Titus, and it's the first tragedy that Shakespeare wrote, and he was very young when he wrote it. So it's very messy compared to his later, more polished kind of works. But there's something so raw, uninhibited. He just like did everything. You know, and there's some beauty to that, like where. And he really, it is about like people who go to the grisly depths of like, you know, whatever you call it, to get over each other, like in terms of like get more power over each other and revenge. And that kind of related to this sort of rich, power-hungry world in North India. And there were these sort of real incidents which kind of immediately sparked that this could work as an adaptation in India. Like the one story I can tell you, there were these two liquor barons, like they were billionaires called Monty Chadda and Ponty Chadda in India, and they just went to their farmhouse and killed each other, shot each other. Like they don't lack anything in the world, like, but they did that just because whatever. Yeah. So it clicked like that, and I mean we kind of worked backwards because we were applying for a Shakespeare scheme per se. That's why we won that grant, and both of us agreed that we wanted to do a tragedy rather than one of his romantic comedies, and then that's why we narrowed down on Titus.
It's interesting you bring up this, the relationship of like the lawlessness and the modern lawlessness that it takes place in northern India, but I also see in the fact that this original setting was in Roman times, it was written in Elizabethan times, and now you're setting it in a world of modern agribusiness in India. There's looking at the intergenerational wealth. Like one of the things I love in the production design is in the dining room, you see the portraits in the background of the wealth that clearly has come through and back from colonial times. Could you speak a little bit about that theme, about the corruption through generations?
I mean, yeah, it is old money. It is like, and we needed a world where, firstly, like to believably adapt this in a modern setting, we needed characters who were above the law, who can get away with murder, and so we needed a setting where it was its own bubble, and nobody knows what happens behind the gated, farmhouses of Delhi, or these like anything happens. I don't know. I mean, I've heard stories that are like not good. So yeah, I mean, it's part of that corrupt world. It's part of that, they have so much money they can, they don't even know. So we needed that kind of thing where it doesn't matter, even if cops come, it doesn't matter because, the cops will be killed, like,
They're like their own kind of world. Like you were like working off of that.
Yeah, so I mean, we needed to create a world where it is sort of it's isolated and it is sort of, it's its own kingdom, small kingdom, where the rules are very different.
I'd like to ask you about my favorite character, Chirag. He has an amazing balance of the sensitivity of that character, who then is just completely does the most grotesque, the most violent thing in the whole film. I wanted to ask you about how you designed for his character, because he seems so temporally now. You give him like the earplugs, he like looks very emo. How did you land on that?
I mean, it's really funny because all our references were very literal. So we were like, he's basically Tamara, Queen of the Goths' son. So the reference was make him look kind of like a little gothic. Yeah. But that actor is really lovely and he was great to work with because he was the youngest in our cast. And we actually talked a lot about, even though like the film is so sort of like heightened and stylized, really just sort of talking about our relationships with our parents and sort of, that sort of unspoken anger. That I mean definitely he and I really sort of bonded over that, and how to sort of like channel that channel that rage towards his mother in the now.
I'm only going to ask one more question. I'm going to get ready to open it up to the audience, but I really admire the balance of tone that you guys do in the film. These are very serious issues, but also you can't fight the source material, and it's very grotesque. It's almost to the point of grand guignol, very ironic. There's a scene of the lady and the agribusiness what's the word, mogul, and they're asking each other in a concerned way about their children, but it's really so that they can kill them. And it's those kind of ironic moments, and then you hear the audience laughing in like disbelief and pleasure at like the beautiful, stylized, surprising death scenes. How did you balance wanting the audience to have the pathos, but also to have them appreciate the timing of those moments?
All your questions are very difficult. I have to say. No,
I'm not trying to. I'm sorry.
No, I love them. No, it was like really important to us to sort of have that beauty because it's North India, it's the winter, you have the fog, it's very, we can pretend it's Scotland. So it was really important to us to make this like super beautiful, super heightened, because that's when like the deaths become that much more gruesome, and we didn't want the deaths to have like, when Arun dies, it is a bit of a jump scare. But other than that, we also just wanted the deaths themselves to be rather beautiful. So you kind of like, you're watching it and what you said, like you laugh in disbelief because otherwise like the frame is just, it's rather gorgeous. But all this horrible stuff is happening, like unfolding before your eyes. So that was definitely, just sort of striking that balance was very important, both for like my DP, my costume designer, production design. We kept sort of talking about pushing that, the heightened beauty every step of the way.
Awesome. It is gorgeous, gorgeous movie. All right, first question.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I love that balance. That's really good.
Thank you very much.
It's very much needed, and you captured Billy in a beautiful way. Some scenes are breathtaking. My question would be, you had both very good actors. How did you convince them to do such a dark subject? Because I know Naseeruddin Shah was going to be wherever. So that's a bit of the story. But you're also dealing with a lot of other actors who are not at that level. The woman, I don't know her name, but she's amazing as well.
Which one?
The main name.
Oh, Tiska.
Yeah. So Tulsi was her. Yeah. So how did you convince them? Because this is great. You guys are very young and very talented, of course. Given this is a very unconventional topic.
So basically, I don't know if you...
Repeat the question.
Sorry for everybody. The question was, how did you convince the actors who don't have the fame of Naseeruddin Shah that would play that role? People who might be a little bit trepidatious about taking, such intense subject matter like the lady played Tulsi. How did you convince her to take that role?
So, what was rather exciting for our cast, this film came out of an initiative called Microwave International that was set up between Film London in the UK and Cinestan in India. So basically in 2015 they sent out a call for scripts because they wanted to celebrate 400 years of Shakespeare by funding one Indian adaptation of a Shakespeare play. Because India loves Shakespeare. So Tana and I, we applied, we decided to adapt Titus, and they selected 6 scripts for a workshop in London, and out of those 6 scripts, ours was the one that got funded. And so because this was an India-UK co-production, it had the backing of the British Council, Film London, obviously that was something that was really interesting to our actors, and thankfully, I mean, they really liked the script. So that kind of sold them on it. Yeah. Thank you.
Bornila's not kidding. India has an amazing history of Shakespeare appreciation. There's a great Merchant Ivory movie called Shakespeare Walla. You guys should check out. Next question? Yes?
So there are certain scenes which reminded me a lot of the movie Monsoon Wedding. You know, obviously very,
This is Monsoon Wedding gone horribly wrong. That's our film.
exactly. So, what was the reference to conscious?
I mean, Naseeruddin Shah. So, no, actually, Monsoon Wedding was not one of our references at all. Yeah, we just wanted to make like a bloody wedding.
All right. One more question? Anybody? Yes, all the way up there.
So, the last scene when the goat's coming, can you explain that? What's going on there? I thought it was great.
It's whatever you want it to be, seriously. I mean, for me, the actual reason for them being there is rather, it's not as cool. So basically, in the original text, in Titus Andronicus, Tamara, who Tulsi's character is based on, she's queen of the Goths. And so the Romans, Titus and his crew, to insult them, they call them goats. So there's lots of like goats this and goats that and goats this. And so we were like, you know, at the end of the film, like that'll be our one, because we don't have like really like very literal Shakespeare references. So this was one, right? It's there, like everyone's a goat. So we were like, let's bring in some goats. And there are goats all over North India, they're very cute. So why not we fed them?
I agree. It is a great last shot to end it on because you watch so much death and then you're like, goats! So cute! Another question? Yes, sir.
So the film seems very disciplined throughout. Is it what we see on the screen exactly as it played in your storyboards? Or is there anything spontaneous that surprised you in making it?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm very happy that it comes across as very disciplined, because what would actually happen oftentimes on set, especially the scenes that we did with Naseer, he's like a wonderful, he's great at improvising and collaborating. So we would oftentimes like set up a shot a certain way, and then he'd come in and he'd be like, you know what, I could really do with a head massage right now. And then he'd be like, okay, who can like massage his head? And we'd bring a guy in. Or you know, he's like, there's just a scene where he's walking and he's like, I need to feel important. Do we have extras? And then we like line up some extras to like all go and like touch his feet. So there was a lot of that happened, especially anytime he was on set, and it was wonderful because it felt like he really kept us on our toes, and it was like it felt like being in film school again, just like making a movie with friends, really.
He did give a really spontaneous performance, but as well, he seems to be your most experienced Shakespearean actor as well. Is that why you gave him like the speeches as well that were like lifted from the text?
No, that was because he has such a beautiful voice and I just want to hear him. So,
I just want to say the first time we met Naseer to talk about the film, the beginning was that, why are you doing Titus? I hate that play. And we really didn't think that eventually he'd be in the film because he really hated the play. But thankfully he liked the script, so then he did. And he did it for no money. It's like his generosity in this film is unbelievable. We did like rehearsals in his house. He was organizing tea and snacks for everyone. Like unbelievable.
If he didn't like the play, does that make you feel like you improved on the source material?
You should ask him.
All right, do we have time for just one more question, and then you guys need to go see Aji. Yes, sir?
Well, my guest has grown up to be 54 years now. Very proud.
Oh, her uncle is very proud of her.
If you make a main actor, that is almost unheard of in India, especially head of the family. It gels very well with the rest of the storyline because of the model of the movie. Is there any other thing that
No, we were just thinking. No, because.
Repeat.
Sorry, if I can just repeat the question for you guys in the back. Bornila's uncle was asking about Nasir being in the kitchen, and that's a really rare thing to see a man of such importance do in India, and how did she make it work so well, and anything else?
So is the woman director, so.
That's true.
Well, no, so it's in the play. So Titus does actually cook Tamara's sons. And we also just sort of, because also with like the feast scene, just showing like his sort of love of food and feeding people and nurturing. So there's a bit of that irony, like, like he's such a nurturer, but then he's like killing people and all that stuff. But it's funny that you asked that, because in our Bombay screening, an aunt of mine, she was like, afterwards, she was just like so thrilled. She was like, I cannot believe Naseeruddin Shah cooked all of that by himself. And I was like, Gulamashi, I really need to teach you about how films are made. She was shocked. It was amazing. So she thinks that Nasir made like the pigeon roast or whatever's going on.
He's not a method actor. He didn't do it all. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Please vote for this film. It's up for an
Please vote
audience
for us.
award on the way back. Please give a big round of applause to Bornila Chatterjee.
Thank you guys for coming.
Sorry.